In a corner of the world, between mountains covered in mist, lived Haru, a man who had learned to look at life without haste, without judgment. When others rushed to label what was happening as good or bad, he simply said, "Good luck? Bad luck? Who knows?" At first, no one understood him. Some mocked him, others called him naive. But over time, everyone began to look at their own lives with new eyes. Because Haru did not cling to things. He did not fill himself with expectations nor drown in fear. He simply lived, like the river that does not question its course, but flows with whatever it encounters. This story leaves us with a deep lesson, that not everything that seems like a loss is a punishment, and not everything that seems like a gain is a blessing. Life reveals itself in layers, and only time shows us its full wisdom. So, when something breaks, when something leaves, when something hurts, instead of resisting, we could do like Haru, breathe, observe, and trust. Trusting does not mean resigning. Trusting means recognizing that we don't see everything, that perhaps what hurts today, tomorrow will be fertile ground. Sometimes what we lose was holding us back. Sometimes what arrives violently brings with it a new beginning. Haru didn't fear change, nor did he cling to happy moments. When his horse escaped, he didn't cry. When more horses arrived, he didn't celebrate. He just observed, like a tree that doesn't chase the wind, but doesn't stop it either. And perhaps that is the most valuable lesson. Don't rush to decide whether what is happening is good or bad. Life is not a straight line. It is a dance between chaos and order, between what hurts and what transforms. If you can see beyond the moment, you will discover something powerful. That everything, absolutely everything, has a purpose, even if it only reveals itself with the passage of time. But how do we cultivate that patience? How do we learn not to despair when life seems to be crumbling? Haru shows us that the key lies in acceptance. Not a passive or complacent acceptance, but a lucid acceptance, born from understanding that life doesn't always give us what we want, but it always gives us what we need. Maybe today you are going through an uncertain moment. Maybe you lost something or someone. Maybe you feel stuck in the middle of the path. And it's natural for fear to appear. It's human for pain to visit us. But like Haru, you can invite silence to enter. You can look at your situation without judging it, as if it were a cloud crossing the sky. It's not eternal. It's just passing. Because everything passes, even what seems endless. And when it passes, you'll see that you've changed. Not because of what happened, but because of how you lived it. True transformation doesn't happen when things get better, but when you decide to see with different eyes. When Haru lost his horse, he didn't lose his peace. When his son broke his leg, he didn't break his faith, because he didn't live reacting to the world. He lived from within, from a place where circumstances don't govern the spirit. And maybe that's what we need most today, to remember that there's a space inside of us that doesn't stir with the storm, a place where we can breathe deeply and simply be. There is no judgment there. There is no rush, just the calm awareness that everything changes, and that nothing, neither the good nor the bad, lasts forever. Like the river that flows without resisting, that doesn't stop at the rock, but doesn't push it either, simply goes around it and continues on its path. What if you started living like this? What if you stopped fighting against what already is? Imagine for a moment that every event in your life, even the most painful one, has arrived with a lesson wrapped in silence. It's not a coincidence. It's causality. Nothing happens without touching something within you. Sometimes what breaks reveals what was hidden. Sometimes what leaves clears the path for what is to come. Haru wasn't wise because he knew the future. He was wise because he didn't let the present dominate him. He teaches us that we can inhabit each moment with balance, that we don't need to dramatize every loss, nor cling to every gain, because both things, deep down, are fleeting, and the only thing that truly remains is the attitude with which we choose to live. Living like Haru doesn't mean resigning, it means trusting that life has a rhythm that we sometimes don't understand, but always leads us to where we need to be. Haru wasn't trying to control. He didn't chase after answers. He simply stayed present, letting the wisdom of time do its work. How many times do we suffer for wanting to know everything now? Why did this happen? What will come next? What if things don't get better? The mind shouts, but the soul whispers, and the whisper is clear. Everything happens for a reason. Trust the process. The next time something unexpected knocks on your door, remember Haru. Remember his calm, his serene faith, his gaze that isn't blinded by the appearance of the moment. Because many times what seems like a loss is just the beginning of a new phase, and what seems like a blessing might just be a part of a cycle that hasn't finished turning yet. There is immense freedom in not labeling every moment, in not saying, this is good or this is bad, just saying this is. That's the door to the present. And in the present, there is no fear. When we let go of the need to control, something magical happens. We become receptive, open, available to learn even from the painful. Haru lived without bitterness because he didn't live from judgment. He knew that life unfolds in its own way, like bamboo that grows silently under the earth for years, before reaching out to the sun. And when it finally grows, it does so quickly with strength and firmness, because its root has been deep. So too are we. Sometimes we don't see results, but we are putting down roots. We are learning patience. We are strengthening the soul. Everything happens for a reason, but that reason doesn't always reveal itself immediately. Sometimes understanding comes much later, like the light of dawn that slowly hints at itself until suddenly it illuminates everything. Just like the river flows without clinging, you too can learn to let go. Let go of the need to understand everything now. Let go of the urgency for life to be different. Let go of the weight of the whys and the what-ifs, and simply be present, be at peace, be willing to learn from every moment. Haru didn't have answers, but he had something more valuable. He had trust, a trust so deep that he didn't need certainty. And that is true wisdom. Life doesn't always explain its paths to us, but it invites us to walk. If something hurts today, don't reject it. If something brings you joy today, don't cling to it. Everything is part of a greater flow. And if you manage to accept every experience as part of the journey, you will discover that even in the middle of the storm, you are already learning to dance with the rain. Because everything happens for a reason. And when you understand it, life stops being a struggle and becomes a deep meditation.